Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to be talking about IBM, and I wanted to go ahead and say this is not going to be any kind of deep dive into their financials, but more so me talking about the company a little bit as well as the outlook for the industry. And I'm also doing a brief stock analysis video similar to this one for all of the companies in the Dow 30, so be sure to come and check that out if you may be interested. I like to start off by taking a look at the 5-year chart so you can get a better perspective of the stock from a long-term point of view. And about 5 years ago, it was at about $150, and then right now it's at about $125, and it's a pretty recession-proof stock. So it's definitely not good that the stock is lower than it was 5 years ago, especially with the industry and sector that this company is in. But along the way, it was receiving a 4, 5, and 6% dividend. So even though the stock is really not increasing over time, you're still getting a pretty decent yield on your investment. And then if you take a look at the stock year to date, it was a little bit less than $160 at its peak in February, and then it dipped down to about $90 in March when the market was at its lowest on March 23rd or so. So definitely a good investment if you got in around the low, but right now I really don't know how I think about the company from a long-term growth perspective, but I don't think it's good. And then really steady revenue for the last 4 years, barely changing, just a little bit less than 80 billion. And then earnings pretty steady as well, with a big dip from 2016 to 2017. And then revenue and earnings actually staying pretty steady for the last 2 quarters as well. Not something you see too often in the market right now. Pretty recession-proof stock with a decent dividend, so definitely good if you were holding for long term and you don't have to worry about it as much. And here I just wanted to show all of the different services that they provide, because people probably only associate 2, maybe 3 of these with IBM, but there's really a lot of different sectors that they're involved in. And I think this is really what has allowed them to stay afloat with their shrinking market shares, because they're so involved in so many different things. But first up, you've got cloud and cognitive software, software for vertical and domain-specific solutions, financial services, Internet of Things, weather, software security and services, customer information control and storage, analytics and integration, and you could probably even go on and on from there, but that's just to name 8 of them right off the bat. And I also just wanted to show that they do still have a $112 billion market cap, which is really surprising to me because they have so many different competitors, really huge competitors too. They've got Microsoft, Amazon, to name the 2 biggest, and then there's also HP, Oracle, Dell. There's so many more, and they still have a massive market cap, which is really surprising to me. And then just wanted to show their current dividend yield, which in my opinion is the main and only reason to invest in IBM, just because from a growth perspective, I don't really see it unless they really start to innovate more than their competitors, which I really don't see with their R&D. And next up, I wanted to talk about a couple of bullish and bearish points. Here are a couple of positive points by analysts at Morningstar, and the first one being IBM's customers proved to be even stickier than expected, and they're placing a huge emphasis on mainframes and databases. And I don't even know when IBM was the #1 player when it comes to mainframes and databases. It had to be like the mid to late 90s, but their customers aren't switching over, so definitely shows some loyalty there. And then the next one is that Watson is going to undergo a turnaround, which will help them boost software sales as well as their cloud services, which I'm sure they really need because they're losing massive market share to Amazon as well as Microsoft. And on the flip side of that, we have a couple of bearish points, and the flip side of that is specifically, even their most loyal customers find it worth it to switch to their competitors, just because they're so much better, in my opinion. I don't have first-hand experience with IBM, but from what I've heard, they're a lot better and a lot cheaper to go with a company like Amazon. And going on to the next point, cloud reliability increases drastically, significantly cutting the cost from switching to IBM mainframes to the cloud, which is going to be increasingly bad for them. And lastly, I just wanted to show their research report overview from Morningstar. Morningstar gave them a 3 out of 5 rating, and I guess that's fair. I'd give it maybe 2 out of 5 stars. They have a narrow economic moat, which I don't even know if they have a narrow economic moat, in my opinion. I don't really know what they have that HP or Microsoft or even Amazon couldn't do. Not that they're doing all of those things IBM is, but they could easily do it with relatively small investment. And then uncertainty is medium. That's true. They're not going away anytime soon, but I do believe they're going to continue to shrink their market cap slowly over time. And then stewardship standard, I really don't know much about their top management, so that's definitely fair. If you do have a more bullish opinion on IBM and not just related to their dividend, I'd love to hear why down below. I make tons of other brief stock analysis videos very similar to this one, so be sure to come and check that out. Subscribe for more content, and thank you so much for watching to the very end.